Welcome back to Unconsciousness. This week, one of my horses wants to talk about the massive astrological events that are going on and the effect this is all having on us as well. So they gave me this information at the beginning of the week on the lead up to where we're at now with the full moon early in the morning this morning in the UK, and then going into the eclipse season now. So we're at the blood moon at the moment, going into the eclipse season. This is a massive time right now, and many are alluding to, and more than alluding to actually, but the 20th to 21st of March being the end of the Kali Yuga, the end of this low point of consciousness we've been going through, and the turn around then, the upswing into higher vibrational being. In the meantime, we're all going through a massive ascension process, which is largely involving all of our emotions, certainly within the human species, and the effect that's having on all of us. And the full moon will be exacerbating this whole emotional process that's feeling like a cauldron, is how a bubbling cauldron is how they are describing it. So I'd like you to get that image very firmly in your mind, in your mind's eye, however you can work most powerfully with the images of that bubbling cauldron, of your emotions coming up and being allowed to evaporate out into the ether, all to increase your vibration. There is a great focus on this today, so I just wanted to highlight that ahead of what my horse has to say later on in this video in her message. It's an important time for all of us right now, and a time to try to stay in balance when everyone around us might be opening up their emotions for us all to see. As other people have said as well, that's very much like watching toddlers having tantrums at the moment and working with your emotions, how we've suppressed them for so long. And now they're bubbling up, not just from us and the emotions that we carry from our own lifetimes, but the emotions that we carry from our ancestral lineage as well, that she's referring to. So to be aware that we've carried all of these emotions in our solar plexus for a long time throughout our lineage. I may well reference another link about the solar plexus in the text below the video here. So you may want to look into that more, the connection between the sun and the sun's rays coming out at the moment, the codes that are coming through, the solar flares, again from the sun, where they're being received in our bodies into our solar plexus. And there they are disseminated throughout our bodies through a network of nerves that she's showing us in the image as well. So I hope that summarizes things to begin with before we go into my horse's message around the time of the full moon and the eclipse. So my horse's message for this week is about the sun. She's saying that it's taking center stage now and will be a phenomenon in its own right that everyone will be talking about for years to come. It is about to show us the strength and direction of its power, and this will come true very soon, maybe around the end of March, beginning of April. And this may well change the world as we know it, or as you know it. When I ask her what she means, she talks about the energies are swirling at the moment. They are building up the tension because everyone's emotions need to be stirred up in order to release all of the toxic energy within them. You can feel the crescendo of the energies rising, and she's talking about the energies rising within our own bodies here. Those emotions that have been repressed for centuries have to come to the surface now and be released out of our ancestral heritage too. We are each carrying these emotions. We are each carrying those emotions from many eons ago that are in our lineage. The new earth vibrational frequency, she says, is so very different and so much higher than we are currently living in. So hold the balance within yourself as you notice those emotions rising in order to be released. Understand that the process is such a deep one that we may not recognize ourselves throughout the release. And she's talking here about the release of our emotions in ways that surprise us, both from ourselves, coming from ourselves, and also coming from others. And that is due to the caged and repressed emotions of all of us rising within all of us too. So she's asking now for us to take our focus to our stomachs particularly, and our solar plexus bubbling like a cauldron, bubbling to release these emotional toxins and everything we are experiencing right now on the global stage is to enable us to dig deeper and deeper into the depths of our solar plexus to release them. So it's like someone stirring up the cauldron of our emotions constantly, and you'll be aware of this watching what's going on the global stage. It's like it's all acting as a catalyst to stir our emotions up in order to release them. And yes, it is a painful process if you don't understand it, she says. And if you do consciously know the reasons for this, it does make it easier to allow the release in a more balanced way, and to notice these emotions coming up, bubbling up, and then to release them as if they're in a cauldron, bubbling in your solar plexus, and then they are released, vaporizing into the ether, so they lose their charge, they lose their vibration that's weighing you down. You don't need to increasingly understand the nature of these emotions or who or where they came from. Just note them and allow them to be released without any attachment to them, she says. You may feel infantile and uncomfortable, particularly over the full moon and the eclipse, while you are releasing them, as some may feel insurmountable in their nature. Just ask for your soul to release them, and they will evaporate into the ether and will then dissipate. And you will feel lighter and in a higher vibration afterwards. This is an ongoing process currently, one that will rapidly increase in intensity during the eclipse season, that's starting now as well at the end of this week. But you'll probably already have started to feel its effects from the beginning of the week. This coincides too with the Mercury retrograde at the same time, adding even more intensity to the eclipse in Virgo this week, as Mercury is its ruler. What she's asking us to look at now is, how does your mind affect your emotions? Should we all be giving the mind the power to affect our emotions? And it's good to reflect on those two questions. How does your mind affect your emotions? And should we all be giving the mind the power to affect our emotions, she's saying. I hear a resounding no from her. Everything is connected, and so too are our emotions and our mind. But that doesn't mean that we need the level of interaction we are currently consigning to them. Somehow we have been taught to repress our emotions through our minds, and that is not correct in its preparing for higher vibrational living. So let me just repeat that again. She's saying somehow we have been taught to repress our emotions through our minds, and that is not correct in its preparing for higher vibrational living, she says. Learn to dialogue with your emotions to get their message, and learn to dialogue with your mind to get its message. But the two working together overcomplicate matters and are removing the divine from our interactions, she's telling me now. We have been covering and smothering our emotions with our minds, whereas they need the open access through our bodies to be able to function in the most divine, supportive and protective way. So this whole process we are currently going through feels like a reset. A divine reset, she says. So we can redeem the vibratory essence we were intended to always have. It's a massive clearing out through the cauldron of all our twisted emotions that have been manipulated within us, allowing us to clear out our solar plexuses. Clear those out so when the solar rays and solar flares come in with their encoded messages, we are free in a higher vibrational way to commune directly with the sun and its encoded messages in a much purer, higher vibrational way. This is as we have recoded for many years now. The sun's rays are encoded with the messages of this sublime, regenerative time to help us raise our frequency through the ascension process. And she's saying that we're helping by exposing and empowering this today, this whole process. And thus the image and vision of the cauldron to release us from toxic emotions, which helps to make way for you all to acquire an easier process, even though, and this point is very important, she's highlighting here, even though she says the intensity is due to step up further and further now as we go into this full moon and the eclipse, furthering us into the ascension process as we come to the end of this Kali Yuga period on the 21st of March. Thank you for listening.